Good morning, Calabian star children. We're looking at Haleigh Evert, and I'm extending an invitation again. So maybe some of you can comment really nicely to Haleigh and say, hey, the Dodger game dude wants to talk live on live streaming YouTube with you, Haleigh Evert, about Mormonism. I'll be nice. Don't worry. I won't say bad things to you or about you. And I won't even use bad words, hopefully, about people I don't like, you know, Jeffrey Holland and Dallin Oaks. Holland Oates. Dallin Oaks. I might say I don't like them, but I will try not to use terrible language. I'm pretty good on my videos about that sort of thing. Once in a while, I've had a little slip up. So, if the truth is true, why would it be a problem to examine it and openly discuss a few things? Why don't we start with the word of wisdom? We can start on your channel and do the next one on mine. I'm still waiting, it looks like, for my ability to do live streaming to come back. I just tested it. That's what this D here is for. See it wiggling? Yeah, that's for, you know, Mobizen Live, and I tried it again, and doesn't look like it happened. So that should be done any time now, and we could have a friendly discussion. We could talk about the word of wisdom. I have so many common interests with Haleigh on things like, you know, nutrition and trying to, you know, search for truth, do the right thing. She makes a lot of videos that I really relate to, except for the makeup stuff. You know, I don't watch the makeup stuff. She did put a little bit about eyelashes in this one here, but you know, I got past that part. And she's talking about some things that she thinks are great products. And you know, this one, I made a comment to her, a few comments, but about this particular one, which sounds like a really great idea, because like when all those MLMs were, well, they still are, you know, pushing, you know, anything from noni juice to Zango to you know, whatever, Monavie, and then New Skin's got one, and gosh, what are they, like $30 a bottle? And you can just like scrape off the, you know, the inside of the skin in a mangosteen, for instance, fruit, to get, you know, where all the nutrients are, and right there on the skin or the inside of the skin. Maybe put that in a capsule, and if you don't process it wrong with heat or something, how much more, you know, it should cost you, like, you know, pennies to get the ingredients and put them in a capsule, and maybe combine that with some other you know, some other superfood things that are going to be full of antioxidant and stuff. I mean, so she's interested in all this stuff. She doesn't want people to be, you know, vaccinating their children like crazy the day they're born with, you know, poisoning them with all kinds of things that really screw up people's immune systems. I'm not saying every vaccine is non-effective and evil, but I'm probably fairly close to that. I don't think that poisoning your body is the best strategy, and mixing up children's immune systems with all those things, and it is certainly profitable for the pharmaceutical company. So, I mean, she's done a video on that. She's done a lot of videos on things that I absolutely agree with, and she tries to blend Mormonism in with all of this, because Mormonism is supposed to be, it's supposed to be God's truth. It is supposed to, as you know, this is not breaking your temple covenants, by the way, to discuss this, but, you know, when you're talking about all truth being circumscribed into one great whole, as you would, you know, see in a circle, which is drawn by a compass, which is worn over one of the, anyway, what the Freemasons have impressed upon them until they bleed or something, you know, in their, or did at least, the stuff that I've read on their rites, and which we receive on temple garments. So, if Mormonism encompasses all truth, and if the prophet is able to speak on any subject in the world with complete authority, whether or not he has any education on it, which we have been taught, maybe not recently in the correlated lesson material, so Haleigh may not be aware of that one, but he's supposed to be able to speak on anything without any sort of other knowledge other than, you know, what he's going to learn from the Lord. Then we really shouldn't have a problem with examining these wonderful truths being shared. And in this video here, Haleigh's latest video that came out sometime in the middle of the night or something, you know, she says again she's going to do something on the word of wisdom. And I say let's do one live, Haleigh, because you know you mentioned the word of wisdom in one of your videos that you were sharing some concerns you had when you didn't think it was, you know, really that cool to be guzzling Diet Cokes, like you say all these Mormon moms are doing, or some that you've noticed. And yeah, you're noticing some things that aren't really consistent with it being the Lord's law of health. Maybe you've noticed, and I'm sure you know, that green tea is pretty good for you. It may not be the greatest superfood in the world, but it does have antioxidant properties. A little bit of caffeine, which used to be a problem. But now caffeine's not the problem. You could drink Postum, you could drink decaffeinated coffee and get a Temple recommend, but now caffeine's not the problem. You know, maybe the church has got investments in Coca-Cola. Who knows? They don't disclose anything. But so they market Coca-Cola at BYU now, which is known to be, you know, something that's not exactly great for your body. I heard of a college experiment once where they stuck a tooth in a glass of Coke, and the next day it was completely disintegrated or something. Don't know if that's true. That sounds pretty anecdotal, so we can't use that for hard evidence, but you know, any of you health food nuts that think Coca-Cola is God's law of health, that what you should be drinking to be worthy to go into the temple versus, say, green tea or even black tea or coffee, you know, that doesn't make any sense. Just like the whole hot drinks thing, you know, we were told hot drinks are bad for the body because Emma and the girls were drinking that, and, you know, guys were ticked off because they had to stop. Because Joseph got up a revelation saying they shouldn't be chewing tobacco there in their meetings, because Emma got tired of cleaning these filthy pigs, you know, spit off the floor, which sounds pretty justifiable for Emma not to, you know, why don't these guys clean up their own crap, you know, or you know, spring for a spittoon, I don't know. So you couldn't even drink hot drinks included. They were teaching that hot soup was bad, weren't they, for a while? And, you know, just a coincidence that, you know, was it John Wesleyan or somebody, you know, the Methodists were teaching the same garbage on hot drinks, coffee, tea, and hot soup. So the Mormons were teaching it, but we didn't, nobody abstained from alcohol until Prohibition. Joseph Smith and Brigham Young sure as heck didn't. We know that. They were in the business, not to mention, you know, catching a buzz themselves on a regular basis. So this word of wisdom has zero to do with health and had everything to do with other things. And I'd be glad to discuss it. We can take a look at references. I'd also like to discuss gospel topics essays right off of LDS.org, Haleigh. I've done several videos on them. You say you don't watch other people's videos generally, which probably isn't, you know, maybe you should watch some other people's videos that are on related subjects. And maybe you should go live with me, because it'd probably get some views. I'm not that popular, but hey, going live, people like that, I think. I think that would be real interesting. And like I said, it's about Mormonism. It's not about you. You and I seem to have a lot of common interests, except I'm a little older. I could have been your Sunday school teacher growing up. I wasn't. But I've discovered a lot of inconsistencies growing up, a lot of inconsistencies with the Book of Mormon versus American history. You know, the whole Manifest Destiny story doesn't really quite make it when you really learn what happened versus what it says happened in the Book of Mormon. In fact, it turns out to be that way with a lot of things, but we can just look at that stuff. And like I said, I'd love to do some of these gospel topics essays like, DNA studies in the Book of Mormon. That'd be a good one. You know, I've got screen capture technology that I use. I'd be happy to share with you. I use Mobizen, Haleigh. You could use that, if you want to look at stuff like that, and see online what we're talking about. You usually use a camera, always use a camera, which is good, because that works. It gets a lot of views for you. Probably work better for you than for me for obvious reasons, but I think that it would be a good thing. If something is true, it shouldn't have to hide in the dark. Cult mind control that the Jehovah's Witnesses use, that the Scientologists use, and that Seventh-day Adventists use, shouldn't be the type of thing that we're affected by in God's one true church, even though they say they're God's one true church. We shouldn't have to hide and think that Satan's going to deceive us if we've got the gift of the Holy Ghost. Truth should be able to be examined, and if we're doing it right on LDS.org, hey, what's to be afraid of, girl? Anyway, have a great day, everybody. I'll probably take a look at some other things later. I want to keep this one short. I'm going to finish up on the Jordan Page stuff too, because there were a lot of issues that she and her husband Bubba did on there, talking about Mormonism, or they were, those guys, why, they seemed like nice people, but the smiles were awfully fake, and there was a lot of apologetics that I just think it's hard for me to believe that they really, buy into everything that they actually said. Haleigh, on the other hand, I think is a really sincere girl, trying to keep it straight in her head as to how Mormonism can be true when she sees certain conflicts like she sees in the Word of Wisdom and other things, where the church supporting, vaccinations. Maybe she doesn't realize, they force missionaries to do this, or they forced my son to, on a domestic mission, or how they're involved with UNICEF and, the World Health Organization with the United Nations, all that, forcing vaccines on all kinds of people. Things that I don't think she would believe in. I sent her a comment versus, just about, she was kind of pro Walmart and Amazon. I don't know if Amazon's cleaned up their act on the working conditions, having to have, like, I read about them having to have ambulances on by their working people like slaves in some of these places, but maybe that's changed, These companies do tend to destroy local, small businesses, private enterprise from small entrepreneurs, and force everyone to wind up having to work for the big corporations. And I've seen that happen, and it's happening not just in America, but where the United States, with these huge transnational corporations, destroys people's ability to have an autonomous lifestyle. In other countries, particularly I've seen it in Latin America. You see Walmart come in there and just wipe things out. You see banks coming in there when they're begging for money in the United States, like Citibank, during the crisis, and they're buying up, banks in Latin America, HSBC, whatever, Walmart. All these guys were destroying local business and turning everything into, clone centers like we've got in America, whether it's, Jack in the Box, Office Depot, whatever, you go and everything looks the same. If you can go back in time to some of these places that the United States, these transnational corporations, many of them US based, have not completely destroyed, but I saw that occurring in Latin America, and it's really sad. It's really, really sad. And so do we really want to support those kind of, things? Giant conglomerates where in the end you find out, about 40 companies or holding companies own like half the world, or whatever. That could be a gross exaggeration, but if you look at some of these industries, who owns, food sourcing, banking, media, it's pharmaceuticals, whatever. You've got enormous wealth and control gathered in a few companies. I know Haleigh hates Monsanto. You know, and for good reason. So, let's talk, Haleigh. I'm not the devil. Or am I? And I'm not doing hits of acid before I do this. In fact, yeah, that was in one of the comments. You're on a roll. Are you doing hits of acid? No, I don't do LSD 25. Thank you. Children, don't use those things. You don't know what people are sticking in these things in these laboratories. Don't do it. I say don't even smoke weed. Maybe some of you people disagree with that, but I say it's devil weed. You don't need that garbage. And you don't need the mind control from the church, and the church taking your 10% of your gross income all your life either. They're selling tickets to heaven fraudulently. And I'm ready to prove it, girl. Dodger game out.